What is up, Dream Team? So today I will teach you how to be a top G. Put this shit out. Just kidding. No, it's not that bad. Anyways, let's go. 100 push-ups.
One of the things I find most striking is the presence of Antarctica on ancient maps, because we didn't discover it until 1820, and yet it's on maps drawn in the 1500s with great detail.
Antarctica is one of the weirdest places on Earth, and from the very beginning, Antarctica has pretty much been a mystery to us.
Now, what the f*** is it doing on a map drawn in the 1500s, which we know was based on older source maps when nobody knew it existed in the 1500s? To me, the obvious answer is we are dealing with the fingerprints of a lost civilization.
For one, the continent is sparsely inhabited, with less than 10,000 people living there. This is despite the fact that Antarctica has a landmass of 13.66 million square kilometers. As one of the most uninhabited places in the world, Antarctica has been the subject of significant exploration, and many people have done their best to uncover some of its biggest secrets. Joe Rogan, arguably the world's most popular podcaster, has been one such person. Over the years, his podcast has played host of several scientists and explorers who've spoken about some of the secrets of this region that you might not know about. Follow us on this journey with Joe Rogan into some of the weirdest and most shocking facts about Antarctica. We'll also be looking into external sources to find out additional facts about this mysterious landmass, opening our eyes to one of the weirdest parts of our
Yeah, I thought I was gonna listen to that, and I guess not. So, let me find something else interesting.
Let's go into
Fine, we'll put this.
We're about to revisit an uncomfortable conversation.
Or we can just skip it.
So, who's it going to be?
let's go into the Silicon Valley Bank story. What do you think is going on there, and do you think it's the end of it? Obviously, yesterday Powell came out. A lot of people didn't think if he's going to increase interest rates or not.
Right.
Is this guy going to do it? Is he not going to do it? You know, it's not a good time to do it. Maybe take a break for a month or two. You know, we're seeing what happened with Silicon Valley bought a 10-year bond for $100 billion at 1.7%, thinking they're going to make it, and then bam, they have to sell that for some $20 billion. And you know, the depositors are afraid. Those below $250,000, which is a small percentage, whatever the number was, 3%, they're covered. But the ones above, everybody's coming and saying, we got to bail the depositors out. What are your thoughts about what's going on with Silicon Valley?
Well, there's a couple of different issues. I mean, and you can sort of go down the line. The biggest issue is that in 2017, the Trump administration, the Republicans, and with some corporate Democrats as well, basically rolled back the regulations that were required for banks like SVB. It used to be if you had $50 billion worth of holdings as a bank, you were subject to the Dodd-Frank requirements about capital to keep the bank safe. And that would have also come along with like sort of subsidiary regulations and regulators being there to make sure that you can't make stupid decisions like that. I mean, they made some very stupid decisions that were, people involved in banking could take issue with, assuming that interest rates were always going to stay low, whatever. The point of regulations like that, where you take more or less a meat cleaver and you say is that people can make stupid decisions, but we're going to be here to protect the system and the depositors. The other thing that was going on there with all the depositors that had all this other money, this is a kickback situation. There's no doubt about it, right? Because anybody with $251,000 cash knows that there is a $250,000 FDIC limit. Mm-hmm. And if you're putting $500,000 in there or billions of dollars in there, you're getting something from the bank in return, which is low-cost business loans or like 0% mortgages. I'm sure you run into this. You put your money into some big, investment bank. You're getting kickback. You're getting a 0% mortgage. So you go out, buy a $13 million house. You don't have to pay anything for that money. You keep your money in a CD. And you're making money off of that $13 million house, essentially, that you bought. Because you just got that money borrowed cheap. And if they're going to do that, I mean, look, to each their own. If they're going to do that, they need to pay the consequences. They took a risk. I'm going to put my money in an uninsured bank because I'm getting back all this, like, you know, and sometimes I think it was like they did this with their businesses and then they get the personal mortgages, which is also just a kickback. So I say we don't bail those people out because we have the rules and these are the rules. Now, a lot of these people are big names. They have the ability to go on to every show that exists on TV and whatnot and claim that this is going to be a systemic risk. But I don't believe that, frankly. And so, you know, I think what we need to do, and nobody's talking about it, is put the regulations back. We have now proof that it's dangerous to have rolled back the regulations on these mid-sized banks. And so, you know, the deafening silence about it is amazing to me.
So Sam, let me ask you based on what you just said. So so obviously we know the guys below $250,000 they're covered, but it's a small percentage with Silicon Valley Bank. It's not like it's a big number. The people above $250,000, with these guys that are coming out saying, hey, we gotta take care of these depositors because if we don't, you know, all these other smaller communities and regionals are gonna get hit. These 27 regionals we have, one is gone, now it's 26. They're gonna remove their money, they're gonna put it in the big banks. This is one of the ways to nationalize it, and we're gonna go through only 5 banks and all this stuff. So the people above the quarter, you're straight up saying, if you have more than a million, anything you have, let's not back them up, let's not protect them, they lost the money.
I think there is that danger that you talk about, that there could be a run on these other banks. I think it's overstated, but I think there is a danger. And I think the way that you deal with that is you come out and you say, we're going to make sure that we're going to subject these 23 other mid-sized banks to the kind of regulation that we impose upon the bigger banks, so that the security you feel with those bigger banks, we're going to provide that security for you by regulating and making sure that they have the capital requirements that they need to protect your money.
Okay, so then go to, if I give you like a cause of, to say it's this person's fault, let's go through rankings of it, okay? Below $250,000, they obviously didn't do anything, you know, wrong there. The guys above $250,000 in savings. Then you have the people that own shares in the company, they're shareholders of the company. Then you have employees that work for Silicon Valley Bank. Then you have the employees where the companies who banked with Silicon Valley Bank, where the payroll is stuck and they can't pay the payroll. Then you have the politicians coming up with the guidelines, the regulations. If you were to put the blame on those folks and who to take care of, who not to take care of, who would you put at the top, who would you put at the bottom?
Well, I mean, I don't know how to apportion blame amongst those things, but I can tell you this, the but for in that situation is clearly the lack of regulation, right? I mean, I don't know who screwed up in all of those different levels, but I know that if the regulation, if they were subject to those same capital requirements, none of that stuff would have happened in the first place.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of tough to debate that. Because I've been in the insurance business for 20-some years, right? You don't see a lot of insurance companies going out of business because insurance companies' capital requirements are a lot higher than banks' requirements. Banks can be a little bit more. We saw what happened in 2008 with the whole no income, no assets. Hey, Sam, how much money you made last year? 72 grand. Sam, one more time. How much money did you make last year? 72 grand. Sam, one more time. How much money did you make last year?
Right.
158. Okay, great. How much you have in the bank, Sammy? I got $28,000 in the bank. One more time. How much you have in the bank? 380. Perfect. No income, no assets, and then boom.
The ninja loans.
Ninja loans. Right? Everybody takes it. So there's a part of that that I agree with. The whole ninja loan, you know, it was never supposed to be for low and middle income families. The ninja loan, if I recall, came from Australian bank. It was something they were using, and we brought it to the States, and it was supposed to be more for like the, you know, clients at the Goldman and the higher. And then they said, let's launch this to everybody out there in the streets.
Yeah,
and that's where they took it in.
You're a bank loan officer, right? Like, I mean, there was a fiduciary responsibility by the person in that scenario there who kept saying, like, you know, put the number up. Because I come in for a mortgage. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a financial whiz.
You know who we had here on the podcast 4 months ago? Very uncomfortable podcast. It was with the former CEO of WAMO. I don't know if you remember WAMO, Washington Mutual.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And that thing was a behemoth of a bank, right?
Yeah,
330 billion.
I think as far as I
Well, we had Kerry Killinger. By the way, he was kind enough to come in. I didn't know what he thought we were going to talk about. I banked with WAMO for years, and I loved WAMO. I thought it was a phenomenal experience. You go there, the customer service, the way you would feel like you're not at a bank. There's not a window where you feel like, hey, you can't shoot us. Everybody was open. There was a relationship thing that was going on. I said, what caused this? Why get so reckless about it? What made you think some of these things you were doing with the amount of money that you had where you ended up selling it for chase? So I guess, and I don't know how much you follow the stories. Obviously, you're a guy that's been following every story every day because this is what you do for a living. What have we learned from 2008 that we're not repeating today? Maybe even the way Janet Yellen and the Fed is handling the bailout model. They're calling it a different thing. What's different about it today than it was in 2008, in your eyes?
Well, I mean, the situation is very different too. I mean, I think that, the amount of leverage that we're talking about in the system is just not nearly the same. And Dodd-Frank eliminated a lot of the more risky stuff. But, again, I can tell you, more importantly, what we didn't learn is when we rolled back those regulations. You and I, we could go through that whole thing. We could spend 6 months examining every aspect of what happened there, and we might come up with a different, who was really responsible, or there could be shared responsibility. But the bottom line, this is why you need regulation. Okay. Just like you said, in the insurance industry, you have a tighter regulation on this stuff. You don't allow for people to come in and play fast and loose with all this stuff, to gamble like they're at the racetrack, and then come for a bailout from us. Because look, the bottom line is, I know it comes from FDIC fees, but who's going to get those fees? And actually, the fees that are going to be imposed upon people to bail out guys like David Sachs and all the...
All right. Dream Team, I do it for you, I do it for me, I do it for we the people.